welcome back, friend. So today we're going to talk about Manifestor / Innovator type. So our Manifestors, they are an interesting group. This aura that is closed and repelling, they are designed to get the ball rolling. They are designed to open doors, and I see this as Moses splitting the Red Sea. Creating a pathway for the rest of humanity to go through, whether or not we want to, whether or not we respond, whether or not we feel invited, whether or not we feel initiated to do so. So the strategy for this particular type is, for youths, it's about asking for permission. And why do we say that? Well, Manifestors feel very contained, and they are. They're in this closed and repelling auric field. So they feel very contained, and for the most part, they feel pretty safe. They feel like they're in there, they got control of what's going on. And instead of telling your child what to do, provide your child with statements. So here's an example. Your Manifestor child comes home from school, throws their book bag in, goes back outside, jumps on their bike, and they're gone. You don't know where they've gone, you don't know anything about them, but inside of their auric field, they feel like, oh yeah, I got this, I can do this, I'm, making life happen. What's important is to get that child to ask for permission. So, train your Manifestor children to provide you with information. So, tell them, inform me as to what's happening, and then ask me for permission. If they can provide all the information and they can ask for the permission, I'm hoping that parents will, be open enough to letting children explore a little bit. And the information that's important is because they need to learn, they need to start learning how to inform. So it's about, okay, mom or dad or parent or guardian or whatever, after school today, Jimmy and I are going to jump on our bikes and go to the park. John is going to meet us there, and his mom is, their house is just right there. She's going to kind of watch over us, and I'll be home at 4:45, 4:45, and I can do my homework then. Get the child to inform you so that, his information can then provide you with the ability to feel initiated, feel like there's something to respond to. Instead of reacting and being scared, feeling that invitation to, interact with what the child wants to do. Now, as adults, that information is so important, and it goes both ways. Okay, it goes both ways. So you're training your young child as they grow up to provide you with information, and you can do also that for them. Provide them with information and provide them with statements so that they can be initiated through those statements. Now, as an adult, it's the same thing. The two-way information street has to happen no matter what type the other player in this game is. And that informing, that two-way street of informing, then allows for, number one, when a Manifestor informs or a youth asks for permission, the other types can then use their response, use their inner authority to then confirm or deny the invitation, or feel initiated. In adulthood, the information basically gets the rest of us out of your way so that you can open doorways, get into your creative muse, be in your creative bubble, and make things happen, because you are here to be a doer. You're here to do things. The throat is going to be defined in the Manifestor, and it's always going to be connected to a motor, whether that be a indirect connection here, like from the root, or a direct connection from the solar plex, or an indirect from the solar plex up to the ego, and up that way. But there's going to be either a root, a solar plex, or an ego center connected to the throat, whether, like I say, whether that be indirectly here or not. The sacral cannot cannot be defined, because the minute the sacral is defined, then all of a sudden we have a different type. So informing allows other people to get out of your way. So inform people. And I don't mean you don't have to write out the plans and say exactly what the day is going to, entail. But for example, my husband and I, he's a manifestor. We have a cattle ranch. So I just say, like, what's on the agenda today? What's happening today? He can inform me, and then I can let him know, okay, well, here's my schedule. So if you need me, I'm available between such and such or such and such. So that he knows that if he needs my help, that there's only particular times in the day that I can come a running and help him and respond to his request for that. What will happen, you'll notice, if you're not informing, there's anger seething from you because people are getting in your way, people are asking you stupid questions. Those questions feel like control. And all of a sudden, the more anger that there is, the harder you push with this closed and repelling aura. So informing people so they can get out of your way, so that they can literally get out of your way so that you can be in your creative muse, in your creative bubble with nothing getting in your way. So the mechanics, again, always non-sacral, defined. The throat has to be defined to a motor. The aura is closed and repelling. The question is how do I impact, and will I be answered? You're designed to impact. You're designed to make an impact. You're designed to literally break down walls and open doors, and I'm not talking literally, I'm talking energetically, and create. You're here to create, to open things, to get that innovation, get the ball rolling on the innovation. So will I be answered? You're here to inform. So it's important to inform people what doors you're opening. Your total signature goal here is to come from peace. And what's really important is that people have felt for years that manifestors / innovators are very, we have this suspicion about them because they make things happen, but sometimes they make them happen just through anger, and it feels very like the rest of us get rolled over, steamed over. And lots of times the manifestor isn't able to recognize that. They can't see that their impact is literally blowing people, out of the way or bulldozing over top of them. So once that information is there, then you can have a clear path so that you're not, bulldozing over people. Now, I'm not saying this in any type of negative way. I want you to understand that there is no negativity here. It is just I live with a manifestor, so it's the experience of it and learning how to communicate. So now I provide him with statements, a lot of statements. So here's an example, okay? If I ask him something like, can you come help me do blah, 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 blah? Well, he's not designed to respond. But if I say to him, here's the example that happened the other day. I needed to take the vehicle out of our shop, and I needed to go into town to the store. And he had a bunch of stuff behind my vehicle because he was working in the shop. But he had been gone doing something. And when he came home and he came to the door, I said to him, I need to go get the mail. And all of that stuff is behind my car. I would like to go get the mail by, I think it was 4 o'clock because now they're closed at 4:30. So I'd like to be there by 4 o'clock. And that statement, there was an initiation. He turned around and I initiated him by that statement. He turned around and went and moved all of his stuff from behind my vehicle so that I could leave and go get the mail. Now I informed him, this is what I need. These are my expectations. This is what time I need it done by. And I didn't expect him to drop everything and do it in the moment, but he did because I presented the information to him correctly. I presented a statement. Now, had I said to him, I have to Or, can you please get all that stuff from behind my vehicle? I gotta go to town and be there for 4 o'clock. I know from past experience, asking him questions there's no initiation there. There's nothing there. Nothing takes place. But because I provided him with a full statement, it was a different story. That initiation happened through him. He was able to use his inner authority, his willpower, and he walked right over and got and completed it. Yeah, I will do that, is exactly his words. I will do that. And he turned around and walked over and did it. So that's the kind of communication that happens. He didn't have any anger over it. I didn't have any frustration. You know, he had lots of peace. There was peace because he allowed for his inner authority to guide him. I didn't tell him it had to be done in the moment. I gave him, until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But the initiation moved him. He was moved. So their nonverbal presence is closed and very protective and pushes outward to initiate. The problem is it doesn't let you in. So you can make others very suspicious. So your aura, if you're a manifestor, it does not let people in. And my husband and I have had lots of these conversations, and he feels alone. He feels like the black sheep. He feels like nobody gets him. Because he's actually never, and he can't, because of the aura, nobody's ever really got in. Nobody can get in. Okay? The solution here is informing others before taking action helps remove that suspicion. So people feel suspicious because there's this little bit of anger that is present. And it's a chemical. It's just a chemical in the blood. That's okay. It's not good, bad, right, wrong. It just is. And really that anger, that fire that's inside, allows for the manifestor to, use that protective, closed, pushing outward, initiating aura to make things begin. So the manifestor, the career type is actually called an innovator. So when you have freedom to create as an innovator, you bring originality and inspiration forward. You are here to initiate, get things started, get the ball rolling, and bring new ideas, concepts, and ideas into the world. You have an incredible gift and an ability to act independently, to initiate action, and impact others. So the presence itself is very self-contained. You push outward to initiate, you impact others. Your presence can be perceived and often misinterpreted as running others over. And we can solve that by informing. So you are the only type designed to go and make things happen. Other types do not have the initiating power that you do. You carry a conscious and unconscious fear of being controlled. Your initiating presence can put people in a defensive or protective mode, and you can easily break through these defenses by learning to inform before taking action. When you inform before taking action, you open the way to clear, productive, peaceful communication, and it is the only way for you to find the freedom from resistance you need in order to manifest what you envision. Informing, however, does not come naturally to you. It is something you have to practice, because for centuries, manifestors have been, trained, and this is in the DNA from years and years and years and years and years, to just push through and take the consequences later. And design is saying, hold on. Let's not act like that anymore. Let's inform and then take our action so that everybody can get out of the way, so that there is no consequences, because they had the opportunity to use their strategy and their authority. So how to use your energy correctly? Innovators are the only type designed to go and make it happen. The other types do not have that same ability. You are the one who gets the ball rolling or gets things started. And if you don't begin things, they won't happen for you. You are self-contained, designed to work and act independently, and what you do will impact others. You are not here to be guided, asked, or told. You work best and most comfortable when left alone to do as you please. In relationships, you have to be the one who makes the first move. You have to have an ability to glimpse the future and can often feel like you are waiting for everyone else to catch up. You look at the other types to provide the specific energy needed to complete what you envision. So this is how to use your energy correctly. Now, how can you get pulled off track? You can make others very uncomfortable without realizing it. When you don't inform before taking action, you can cause others great suspicion. They perceive you as threatening and put up resistance. And what does resistance look like? Resistance really looks like stupid questions. Because 70% of the population are generators, and 70% of the population respond to questions. So, because 70% of the population believe that questions are the way we operate, then we also ask our manifestors questions. I'm guilty of this myself, and then when I don't do it and I provide statements, whoa, our communication is so much better. So waiting for others to initiate things is so unhealthy. You must be the one who initiates. So often you relinquish your power to fit in and be accepted. Taking it personally when others put up resistance or don't accept you, being misunderstood by others, becoming an impulsive workaholic, and not having a healthy balance between rest and work, and aggressively initiating and trying to crash through resistance without informing and taking the consequences later, and not trusting your decision-making strategy and allowing your mind to make decisions. So you are here to listen to your inner authority, to know that your impact is here to make a great innovation and a great change in the world. And using that impact through inner authority, what were you initiated into, and then dropping into your inner authority and knowing, okay, here's the timing, here's what I'm going to do, informing other people, getting them out of the way, and then your great innovation, your, ability to make things happen will then have such a peaceful interaction with the rest of us. What happens if you're acting from the mind? If the manifestor is acting from the mind can throw you off track with ideas of what it thinks you should do. The mind often second guesses your true decision-making strategy of I don't know why that says that. I shouldn't say anything about waiting for clarity. So the mind gets anxious and acts on imps without informing others. Acting from the mind often leads to anger and wastes a lot of time and energy. And acting from the mind can impact others in negative ways. The mind can restrict your ability to manifest and can cause you to give up your initiating power just to fit in. I do see this. I see this with manifestors where it's like, they just give up. They just sit back and they're like, I'll just wait. But once they actually feel that burning fire inside of them to, use their initiating power to impact others, it's a totally different story. So informing before acting, realize that your actions will impact others whether you recognize it or not. Informing others before you take action removes obstacles and resistance from your path. Informing does not come naturally to you. It is something you must continually practice. And before you take action, ask yourself, who will I be impacted by? Who will be impacted by my decision? Inform anyone you think that might be impacted by the action before you do it. And in this way, you also set an example for others to inform you as well. Like I said, two-way street. So important. Provide statements to your manifestors if you are not a manifestor and you have a manifestor in your life. So important to provide that information and those statements. So this type of communication with others leads to peace, understanding, and brings you back to your power, that fire that burns inside of you. So just as an example here, we throw in really what the manifesting channels look like. And those manifesting channels, there are 3 pure ones. And then there are numerous different, aspects that could move up to the throat and be the manifesting. It has to connect to a channel though, or to a motor, of course. So, here the ego. So how my husband, he goes through the channel of initiation and then up through the channel of the prodigal. So it's not directly to the throat, but it moves up there. You can have root all the way up to the spleen. You'd have root all the way up to the identity center and then up to the throat. So it can go and travel in many different ways. Interaction, again, this closed and repelling aura that's pushing out and initiating and impacting people, because that's what you're designed to do. Our earth, our world, our humanity needs you to be innovative, to bring your innovation and, your doing to the world. So who do you impact? That's important. Who are you impacting? Make sure you talk to them about it and tell them about it. That is so important for your strategy. That informing allows your navigation on this plane to be way less resistant. So now we're going to talk about the inner authorities that happen with a manifestor. So you can have solar plex as your inner authority. So grab your chart, take a look at it. So if the solar plex is defined, then it is always the inner authority. So wait before making decisions. The motto is there is no truth in the now, and truth reveals itself over time. Realize that you will impact others emotionally. Therefore, timing is of the utmost importance. Slow down because you need to come to clarity and truth. Slow down. Never make decisions on emotional highs or emotional lows. Sleep on it before making important decisions. And sleeping on it doesn't mean maybe just one night. You might need 3 days, 7 days, a month. Who knows what your emotional ups and downs are going to shed light, and the emotional clarity, because that's really what the solar plex does, is it gives you emotional clarity. So that emotional clarity, you have to be patient to come to that clarity. And you will feel yourself moved into action from a place of clarity. After you have clarity, inform before taking action. So this is your decision making. So all of a sudden a statement is made. You're initiated. You're emotional. You need time before you act. And what that time does is it allows you to come to clarity. You're not doing anything on highs. You're not doing anything on lows. You're doing it based off of the clarity of the emotional intelligence of the situation. And then, before you take action, because that's what's going to happen here, you're going to move into action. Before you take action, you want to inform those people in your life that are going to be impacted by this action. So if you feel an exaggerated urgency or pressure to act, it is usually coming from the mind, not through clarity. Wait for the pressure to subside to be able to feel when the timing is right. So not on the highs, not on the lows. And I want to show you this slide because this is important. We've seen this when I talked about the awareness centers. And I also showed you a quick introduction to that I showed you a picture of the wave, so that understanding how clarity happens. There's this up, there's this down, and then when the clarity is there, it's so clean, it's so crisp, and it's always in motion. The emotional intelligence is always moving. The solar plex is always moving. So the highs and the lows, you don't want to get caught up in the highs and the lows. You want to just gracefully come to a place of clarity. Whether that takes 24 hours, 72, 7 days, a month, it doesn't matter. Clarity will, happen as long as the mind isn't gnawing on it and chewing on it and getting involved. You want to just watch the interaction of the body with the situation. So there are different kinds of waves. The channel of mating, which is the 59 to the 6, kind of builds and stalls, and really it requires a lot of touch for it to be able to be recognized. So if you have this as your wave, know that touch is important to you to kind of take you out of that stalling. And what I attest this to is Cesar Millan. He trains dogs, and when there's a dog that is really caught up in fear or anxiety, and really caught up in something, and is like obsessive about it, he makes a noise. He usually goes psht, and he touches them lightly, just to kind of snap them out of whatever that emotional energy is. So same with you. I'm not saying, get somebody to, do what Cesar Millan does, but to recognize that touch is important so you can get in tune with, okay, where am I in the wave, and have I come to clarity yet? The channel of synthesis and the channel of community, so the 1949 and the 3740, so take a look at your design and see if you have either one of those channels. It kind of ratchets up. So, there's things that, take place, So, for example, this wave is gaining information, gets to the top and kind of goes, and then comes back down. And a lot of this, again, tribal, all three of these are tribal. There is a sense of touch that is needed here in order for the building and the explosion to be less. So the decisions are going to be up and down and up and down and up and down until you get to a point and it's like, okay, now I can move forward. And it's like, there's kind of like this releasing of the energy, and you can move forward because you've informed who you need to. The individual circuitry, which is the channel of openness, the 2212, or the channel of emoting, 3955. You feel like you're, on clarity, even keel, and then all of a sudden, poof, there's this spike up. And all of a sudden there's all this excitement and enthusiasm and passion for something. Now, I'm telling you, don't jump in. Don't jump in. I want you to come back down here and come to clarity. And don't jump in or out, don't jump out when it's like, all the passion's drained out of this. Come to clarity. Just come to clarity and act from a place of clarity, not from a place of the spikes of the up and down. So the abstract is the channel of recognition, the 4130, and the channel of transitoriness, the 3635. And here what happens is there is this building of expectation. It peaks up and then it crashes, and it peaks up and it crashes. So expectation is a killer. So the languaging that I use here, and Ra also had indicated, expectation will kill the experience, because we have this preconceived mental expectation of what's going on. So what's important is that we anticipate in the experience. The experience is going to bring us nervousness. All of these are going to bring nervousness because, again, like I had said in the centers and talking about them, the solar plex is an awareness center, but it's also a motor. And there's an awareness here, and what's on the other side of awareness is nervousness. When we're in nervousness, know that that's not a good time to make a decision. You only want to make a decision when you're at clarity, so that there's no more nervousness and you know that it is the correct time to make a decision. So timing is important. Clarity is important when we're dealing with the solar plex. Don't feel pressure to be spontaneous. Don't act before there is clarity, and inform prior to taking any kind of action. Now the next inner authority is called the spleen, or the splenic center. So if the solar plex isn't defined, or the sacral is not defined, you're designed to listen to the inner voice of intuition and act on it, no matter the consequences. This voice never repeats itself and speaks very softly. So you only get one opportunity to act on it. The spleen is keeping us safe, period. Its whole job is the immune system, it's the lymphatic system. It is designed to keep this physical, bubble of biology, this meat suit, alive. So it only speaks once. And what I want you to know is that there's going to be this spontaneous instant knowing. You make decisions instinctively in the moment. It is important for you to stay present, aware, and tuned into what your body is telling you through the subtle sensations you experience through your senses. You will be moved into action by your instinctive knowing, but remember, you will impact others. So be sure to slow down enough to inform before you take action. Also, do not allow your mind or the emotional needs, wants, and pressures of others to cause you to second guess or override this instinctive knowing. Because, like I had said in the shadow aspect, the conditioned mind is a very, very noisy. It's very distracting. How I look at it, it's kind of like a little kid in the mom's kitchen and taking out all the pots and pans using the wooden spoon and banging. Okay? The spleen is quiet. It's not a motor. It's an awareness center. All too often, we miss our intuitive knowings because we are distracted. We got a noisy mind going on. And if this is your inner authority, you want to know, is this initiation correct for me to move forward with? And if it is, inform those that you're going to impact, and then be spontaneous and move forward. And the last one here is the ego authority. Now, the heart center or the ego center, this is all about willpower. So the heart will be defined, and you won't have the solar plexus, the sacral, or the splenic center defined. So all four of these centers down here will be undefined or open. So what needs to happen is they actually need to be a little selfish and ask, what do I want? And what's in it for me? So the manifested aspect of this is that heart or ego to the throat. They use their personal will to decide what to manifest. So when I hear my husband say, I will da 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 da, I will be working on the fence today, or I will feed cattle today, or I will do this, it's done. I know that it's already going to happen, period. I never have to second guess it. But the moment I hear him say, oh yeah, I can do that, that's not his voice. That's a conditioned voice doesn't have the sacral center defined. So I know that whatever he said he can do, most likely is not going to happen. And if it does, he's probably pushing through anger. So I just kind of snap him into when he's with the language that he's using, and I'll let him, I'll inform him as to what I just heard, so that he can recognize, oh yeah, probably that isn't gonna get done, because it's not important. So paying attention to the I will statements is so important when you have the ego authority. So you'll be moved into action through the force of your will. Watch how your will to have the energy to do something or not. You need to pay attention to what you say. You will do. Your non-pre-planned statements, I have, I will, is your authority talking, sorry. So be selfish and ask, what do I want? What's in it for me? Realize you will also impact others through the force of your will. So it is key that you inform others before taking action in order to remove that resistance. It is literally unhealthy for your heart to enter into situations that require a commitment of energy over a prolonged period of time if you make the decision from your mind. So of course the mind wants to get involved in anything and everything. But what we're saying here is literally, because the heart is the thymus gland, the heart, the stomach, and the gallbladder. It's not about pushing through angrily with willpower, overcommitting. No, it's about listening to the I will statements or I have statements and being initiated by those correct information packets that come your way. So it will only be healthy for you if your heart's in it and you're doing it for your willful determination, because it is something you want and there's something in it for you. You stay healthy by making and keeping promises and having balance between work and rest. So that is a look at the manifestor type. Now, what I want you to really grasp here is that we are giving an overarching to begin with, and then we'll start breaking it down. So for example, this manifestor here will break down, what do these strengths mean? What do they bring to this impact? What do they bring to the innovation? And then, how does that get communicated? These are the kind of things that we break down as we go. But you need to have an overarching understanding of how all these types interact so that you then can begin to play with this and experiment with it. And if this is your type, start to inform people. As you're moving forward and you're taking action on things, inform them before that happens. If you find yourself already 10 steps ahead, go, hold on a minute. Inform who you need to, and then watch how there's a different dynamic, even in the household, with the family, at work. And watch how people begin to relax. Instead of bracing for impact and very suspicious of what the manifestor is going to innovate, all of a sudden those other people can just go about their day, and then all of a sudden your path is totally clear. As for myself, I'm a manifesting generator, so when I get busy doing my thing, which is creating content, coaching clients, and loving my cows, cats, and my dog, our relationship with my husband, our relationship as a couple looks totally different. He's out doing what he needs to do. I am busy being me, and it's totally different dynamic. But the minute that, we're getting in each other's auras and we're trying to be headstrong, and he has anger and I have frustration, man, does life ever look a lot different. So once we have learned how to communicate with each other and change that dynamic, so much has adjusted in our relationship. And that's what I hope for you. So if this is the very first time understanding this information, seeing this information, what I would love for you to do is this. Grab your chart. Know what your inner authority is, and then begin to inform.